Hey everybody, funny story. Um, my laptop stopped working today, so we're doing this from the phone. Not sure what the audio is going to sound like. Not sure what the video looks like. The sun is clearly in my face, but you know, we'll deal with it. So hopefully everybody has a good Friday so far. Had a good Friday. Is going to have a good Friday, depending on where you are in the world. I'm still Kevin Murcko. I'm still CEO here at Coinmethod. This is called an AMA. You ask me anything, and hopefully I answer. That's how the game works. So I'll check for an audio check, hopefully here at some point. I hope it's not too bad. I hope the connection's stable enough that we're going to be able to get this done. And yeah, sorry about the really big shadows under my eyes, but I had to make do with what I had. So here we go. You're going to see me scrolling since I'm on a mobile phone. So yeah, if you can give me a mic check, and apologize for all the wiggle wabble, shibble shabble, shim sham. I don't know what you call this. The fucking phone is wiggling, is what I'm trying to say. So please, mic check real quick before I move on. I don't want to be talking too much before I know if you can hear me. Let's see, mic is fine. Okay, moving on. Thank you very much for that. I think that was Patrick. So we got Wannabe coming in first, claiming that he's first as well. That's good. It's good to know you're first. Hey, Bobby. Hey, Wannabe. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Yeah, guys, if you can thumb this video or confetti it or jumping up and down, man. I don't know, whatever you can do to spread the word would be great. Any news on DNA staking? Hey, Bobby. So no, not yet. I got here to Mexico about 36 hours ago, I think, if I can count still. And so no update yet. But I will be talking to him at some point while I'm here. I'm here for just about an entire month, though I will be traveling a bit. And so I will get in touch with David and chat a little bit about DNA staking. One of these AMAs, you're going to hear about it. BackFi integration is pretty much done. I think we're waiting on administrative stuff, which is, I'm not putting the questions up on the screen, but I'll start doing that. Sorry, guys. Just trying to get acclimated to a mobile device. Never done using this software from a mobile device, so it's a bit weird on a small screen. But yeah, BackFi integration is technically done, just needs to be integrated. But I think there was some admin stuff that needed to be done, i.e. contracts, et cetera, between the two entities, which is still in flux. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay. Any numbers regarding the growth after the marketing campaign started? So I can't say a marketing campaign started. We did test ads the last week and the week before last that showed promising results. We have done a very small amount of app install ads recently. They've actually done quite well. So ads have just started to flow out for app installs. More ads will be flowing out between today and next week on different platforms, including things like TikTok, Facebook, Google, etc., as well as in the Play Store and in the App Store, looking for app installs. Well, I hate to say the word bear market because, to be honest, if you think about the volatility and general long-term, what we've seen so far in the crypto markets for the past 13 years, I dare to say that bear market doesn't really exist, though we do have some really fierce corrections. I don't necessarily see anything that tells me that the worst is over. Price is like the last thing you should look at to determine where a market might be heading. And the fundamentals haven't really changed. I've seen people like, oh, even Elon Musk made a tweet, something about, oh, some parts from Teslas are now going down. So maybe, that's inflation has climaxed. Yeah. 2.5 years worth of money printing, 2.5 years worth of varied lockdowns, shut down economies, etc. And we're expecting that 6 months is the extent of the inflationary push. I think you'd be deadly wrong if you think that. So I don't think we're out of the bad market yet. I don't see so much. I would expect a much faster push to the upside in a market like crypto if institutional money and big players were behind this move. What I see is I think it's just retail that were just getting tired of the price falling and started to buy again, and that created a little bit of irrational exuberance around the market, and more people bought. But I think who's selling into those are bigger holders. Everybody knows that Tesla sold 75% or whatever their Bitcoin in the last quarter, and they were definitely doing that into retail buyers. And I assume there's some bigger other heavyweights selling into retail buyers now. Now, That doesn't mean you should short from here, but I would much more be looking at short setups right now than I'd be looking at longs. For intraday trading. Long term, obviously, this is a hodler market. If you want to make money long term, dollar cost average, buy and hold. That's it. It's the simplest way to make money, and in fact, you'll probably beat most hedge funds managers doing that try to trade. Did you buy one of those Flux sow wash? No, I didn't actually. I was told that they had one for me on the AMA with Flux, and then after that, I didn't hear about it. So no, I haven't gotten my hands on one of them, unfortunately. Is crypto decoupling from traditional finance? Well, crypto will at some point decouple from traditional finance. That's inevitable. Has it done it already? I don't think so, to be quite honest. I mean, back when COVID started, the expectation is that, well, this is the chance that crypto's always been waiting for, right? To decouple, because markets are going to shit, but crypto also went to shit. Then crypto did very well, but so did markets, because massive amounts of money were flowing into markets. Quantitative easing was turbocharged. And now we don't necessarily see quantitative easing, though we're not tightening all that much yet either. I mean, we have interest rates that went up, but quantitative tightening, I don't think the Fed and everything has pulled most of their funds out of the equities markets or the bond markets yet. If and when they do that, should say when, that's going to be massive, because they pumped a massive amount of capital into those markets, over COVID. And so I don't think, again, there's not enough information for anybody to tell you that we're decoupling yet. You would need to see, in terms of data, not weeks and months, but potentially even years to understand. But at least I would say 6 to 12 months to see a trend that where crypto is no longer kind of following equities. When can I finally take out a 1-to-1 fiat loan against my staked XCM where I pay 2.5 interest while earning 5% staking rewards? Well, that's probably never going to happen, because the math on that just doesn't work. That would lead to a collapse a la, our friends over there at Terra Labs. 1-to-1 fiat loan with a volatile asset is never going to happen. Being able to take a loan out on your staked XCM, paying interest, is probably going to happen, but definitely not with the numbers you posted, Bobby. We might as well just throw in the towel now. Nope, not going to be next week. That's for sure. We'll see him do marketing towards Americans given SEC hostile stance. Yes, we will. It looks like rates are going to keep rising, so traditional traditional finance economy will go into recession, but crypto seems to be going the other way, so hence the decouple. What do you think? I wouldn't call this a decouple yet, to be honest. I mean, people understand that there's lots of inflation. People are like, oh, I can buy at lows. Oh, my buddy told me that this is a good time to buy. Oh, my neighbor said that, this is probably the low. Oh, that guy on YouTube told me that Bitcoin's going to 100K next week. But, people only have so much disposable income, and inflation isn't going to stop here. And, wage increases aren't going to go along with inflation, et cetera, et cetera. Rents that have, gone up very, very high. Even if the rest of prices come down, rents are stuck for 12 to 24 months. So inflation ain't going anywhere, man. And, the bad news from the economy ain't going nowhere. And especially with midterm elections coming up in the U.S., that means that, for the Republicans and even the independents are going to be all over the economy because it's shit. And it's not going to leave the news cycle. So, now that the world is going into a recession, recession doesn't mean people have extra money lying around to buy crypto, to buy a volatile asset, right? And so there will be people, there's always people with money, yeah, recession or no, and there's people that in recessions do really well, especially those that have businesses that are somewhat recession proof, that guy that sells toilet paper on the internet. And those guys will have money, and they may choose to put some of that in crypto. But the average person, and that's the average retail investor that has kind of held crypto high since its origin, might not, right? Those guys might have much less disposable income to be putting into crypto. And I don't see how right now, with a few weeks of crypto doing a little bit of a bounce off of lows, means that there's a decoupling, or that somehow we're out of this thing and crypto is going to do amazing while the rest of the world crumbles. If the crypto market was 1,000 times bigger than it is right now, 1,000, or even 100 times bigger than it is right now, then there would be an argument to say, well, if crypto people, if crypto continues to rise, there will be so much wealth generated that it may actually help save the rest of the markets and the economy. But we're not there, guys. Crypto would have to go up a massive amount to be able to kind of fill the gaps where traditional finance, jobs, etc., inflation are pretty much killing the average Joe. Hi, Kevin. Can you already see some positive effects from the new marketing push for sign-up numbers and higher conversion rates? So sign-up numbers, we are seeing, again, it's small currently. It's about a 20% rise, well, 30% rise over what we have seen over the last few months. But that's a decent number. If we can continue to do that on a bi-weekly, monthly basis, we're in a good position. Again, so far, mostly test ads, some app install ads, but yes, we can see the effects already. Conversion rates basically have been steady, but do need to rise. We need more data to help us out there, is what I'm trying to say. Any marketing video starring you will show up? I think you were filming something. Yeah, we filmed a few things. Some of those things we use for internal purposes, like hiring and things like that. I'm going to be filming some videos while I'm here in Mexico. We're setting that up probably for next week or the week after, which will definitely go out into some ads that we'll be pushing with 2 or 3 of the media agencies we're working with. So I'll let you know when those start coming out. Mic is fine. Sound is good. Awesome. What do you think about the U.S. government refusing to acknowledge that the USA are officially in recession? They even changed the official definition of recession. Well, I think it's a joke. Look, I think politics in general is a joke. I think politicians are a joke. I think the fact that what I think is good is that now with so much kind of access and people are able to connect so easily, over the internet, et cetera, with crypto showing people where the holes are in our monetary system, with people understanding that, all these institutions in the government only have like 2 buttons, print, or 3 buttons, print, lower, and raise interest rates, and that's it. I think they're starting to see through the veil. They're starting to understand that, the way that countries are run, I'm sorry, the way that governments try to protect people. How many times can institutions lie to you over hundreds of years, causing, massive pain in the populace before you realize that nothing's changed? I mean, so I think it's a joke, and I think most people think it's a joke. You can't just go around changing definitions because you don't like them, because they make you look foolish. I mean, you already look very, very foolish. The administration right now looks pretty darn foolish, and the recession is inevitable. And it's there was money printed in the last term, last president, and so all the last 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 presidents have a hand in what happens now in terms of the economy. You can go all the way back, maybe to even Bush Senior, to Carter, for fuck's sake, and probably connect the dots a little bit. And so everybody's culpable, but still, you should be, government should be able to stand up and take culpability, but they never do. They never do. They make sure you can take culpability, but they never stand up and take it. Since this has not been asked in a while, any biz dev news? Oh, Michael. Yeah, there definitely is some biz dev news. A lot of it is more like internal partners to help us do our jobs better. And help us streamline things and stuff like that. External biz dev news, we got some stuff going on with Whale Room that you guys will probably hear about in a bit. Backify, which was already mentioned. We got some merchant solutions being worked on, working with a merchant that's looking to bring Lightning payments to about a couple 100,000 websites in the US and Europe, working with them as well. There's a few things in the works, nothing that's ready to go as of right now. But yes, there are a few things in the works, and I think merchant services is going to be something for Coinmethod, because we're going to be looking at not only offering, let's say, challenger bank services coming up Q4, but we're also going to be looking at offering things that expand on that challenger bank service network, which is merchant services. Any upcoming tokenomics that will incentivize XCM holders to burn some of their tokens? Well, there's definitely tokenomics coming up that I think will incentivize people to buy XCM as well as not sell it. We have discussed some things about, people being able to burn their own tokens. for exchange for something. And that's still in the works. I think that's going to be probably toward the latter stage of all these different tokenomic changes. So rather than happening in the next week or 2 or 3, it might be 4 or 5 or 6. But there's definitely something, a few things being talked about down that line. And it's interesting. It's an interesting concept, I think. Kevin, do you hold any HBAR, and why not? I do not. Only real reason is I only buy assets on Coinmetro, and Coinmetro just recently listed HBAR, and I haven't really had time to play around with my portfolio. But I probably will pick up some at some point. What is your experience with machine learning when using online ad services? Does the targeting and ROIs prove well over time? Well, my experience with machine learning in general is that it's a very nice name for something that probably needs another decade or 2 to actually really be really meaningful. But people throw around artificial intelligence and machine learning, like they're just put like buzzwords, basically. Just like in crypto, everybody likes to use their buzzwords. Like if I hear the word space one more time, I'm going to send someone there. And so I don't have much experience with machine learning when it comes to online ad services, but we have actually in the past, I think Brave was one that we tried that completely failed. Now this was, 2-3 years ago, so 2 years ago maybe, so maybe now that's different. But so far, most of the ad experience I've ever had has always been through agencies, etc., and working together with people close in an inside of an organization. And so I don't have much experience with machine learning, but I have experience with machine learning on other things, and always left disappointed. Are Saudis supporting BTC bottom at 20K? No idea, Patrick. The Saudis definitely, like the rest of the Middle East, our data is the new oil. Has been the thing now for the last 5, 6, 7 years. It's possible, but while I do like a conspiracy theory, I do like them. I don't believe in most of them. If not, well, the majority of them, the vast majority, I should say. How are CM's efforts to reduce the sell wall going so far? Several hundred K less XCM on the sell side already is some good progress. Yeah, so that was literally from 2 or 3 people on the sell side, 1 major sell side, and then I think 2 smaller ones. Most of that effort is we were planning to do this week. However, we wanted to get the XCM page out, and it wasn't quite ready this week. So it's going to come out, I believe, next week. And when it does, we're going to start pushing some emails out to people on the sell side. We're also going to start implementing a list of, somewhere between, 5 and 20 tokenomic changes and changes to different things, how we do at Coinmetro, adding some additional tokenomics, lots of different things to help basically incentivize buying and disincentivize selling. Are you planning on adding new tokens to Mars? To me, adding things like Link, AVEX, ETH to Mars would be very good for marketing. Absolutely. I've said this. I don't know, Jens. I thought you were here all the time, but maybe you're another Jens. The plan for Coinmetro is to add every single asset we have to some passive income vehicle and add every single one of those to Mars. It's not as easy as it sounds. I mean, look what happened to, 3 Arrows. Look what happened to Celsius. A year ago, people would say, just put the money with Celsius and then, pay 80% back to clients. Nice and easy 20% win, And now look what happened. 3 Arrows, same thing. So we need to be very careful about the counterparty risk we take on. And we also, if we're going to build these things out, we don't take on counterparty risk, but we do take on risk because obviously if something happens, then, we're going to be liable. So it does take time to get these things implemented. Fireblocks helps, but doesn't necessarily solve the issue 100%. So we are digging in to see how many assets we can currently add, given our current infrastructure, to passive income opportunities, direct and also to staking. So you can expect to see more things on Mars. That is for sure. Hey, Kevin, with the CM share purchase, should we need it, what is the method to sell the share back to Coinmetro? Well, the method isn't selling it back to Coinmetro. The method would be selling it to somebody else. Not that Coinmetro might not be in the market one day, but currently we're not in the market to buy shares back. Again, that could change. It probably will change. In fact, I'm almost sure it will change. But in the short term, it would be, right now we have this partnership with Ignium. And so Ignium has a secondary market. If Ignium isn't around, we will find an alternative. At some point, probably in the next 2 years, we will look to have our own licensing so that we can offer a secondary market for those shares, if there isn't another option. Hey, Kevin, is the Mexico office online yet? Mexico office, I was there yesterday. I took a video of it. It's pretty much ready to roll. Just waiting on the last few lines of fiber to be placed inside the office so we can get the internet online. Within the next week or so, it should be fully online, and at that point, we'll start bringing people into the office. We also have an event we're planning for the beginning of September to bring people over. So there'll be a lot of people in the office, and we'll do a little housewarming, little inauguration. Bill Faro says China. Not really sure what that means. Does CM depend on volume? Coinmethod depends on volume, sure. Now it's not the biggest piece of how we make our money in terms of just volume on spot. But yes, absolutely. Every exchange, any trading business is going to depend to a certain extent, if not a large extent, on volume. When are you planning to reduce the margin fees? We're working on that. It's all getting worked on. Right now, it's the way the system is that we'd have to kind of do it across the board. Problem is that that's going to reduce revenues but quite substantially by about 10 to 20%. And the question is there value there? So we have to right now we're doing math and trying to figure out what the best approach is, because we can't just reduce the fees on XCM, because the way the margin platform works is that it's based on euro credit, and so euro or USD credit. And so you can't just remove it on XCM. You have to remove it from the base, but that would also remove fees on many other pairs, which bring revenue to Coinmethod. So we would be reducing our revenues by a significant margin, a significant enough margin that it means that we need to discuss and figure out what the best step forward is. But we're working on it. Does CM get governance rewards on your algo holdings, and will the rewards be paid out on Mars? Currently, no. I'll repeat it again. The goal is that every asset on Coinmethod is connected to some type of passive income, whether it be protocol-based, whether it be treasury-based, whether it be lending and borrowing-based, whatever. And not only are those available directly, but they're available through Mars. But no, we don't. If we make money on an asset, the first thing we think about is distributing that back to our clients, not keeping it. Hello, Mr. Anime Fan, my favorite. But hello, Mr. Anime Fan. Any favorite books? Okay. No commas in there. I got confused. Or recommendations to read fact or fiction. Keep up the good work with Coinmethod. Well, thanks, Carlo the Jackal, too. Books. So I used to be an avid reader when I was a kid, up through high school, etc. And then I got into the real world, and I have to say I still read a lot. I consume a lot of information, but I haven't actually read a book in a long time. When I did read, it was pretty much a 50-50 mix between fiction, nonfiction. I did enjoy. I enjoy books that combine both. I remember a book I read a long time ago. It was literally just called Mexico, and it was about a photographer and a journalist. I think it was a journalist or a photographer, or both. I remember that he was traveling through Mexico. The story was fiction, but all the facts that were kind of delivered throughout the story were nonfiction. So they were facts. They were actual facts. And I really like that type of genre where both are mixed. And so yeah, I go 50-50 in between. Can't give you a good recommendation. Yeah, you can try to find that book called Mexico. I read it probably 20 years ago. And I'm sure the 20 years ago, the 25-year-old Kevin's probably much different than the 45-year-old Kevin. So maybe I wouldn't recommend it now, but I think I would. It's a pretty good book. But thanks for the comment. And yeah, I definitely love anime. Everybody knows that. 4chan says Quant is exit scamming because they removed their tokenomics from the white paper. I can't really comment on that. I mean, I wouldn't really take what 4chan says to heart ever. Literally everything on there, 99.9% of it is bullshit. I don't own Quant. I sold my Quant some time ago. The reason I don't own Quant is because I just couldn't see how their narrative was going to play out in terms of central banks actually using a single type of system, single type of OS to move funds. There's never been a reason for them to do it in the past. I don't think they want to do it. And while they'll test anything, you can go to a central bank with anything that's decent. They'll test it. They'll test it because if they find something they like, they can just copy it. And so, yeah, and I have seen them journey out now and talk about payments and other things, which I think is much more useful and probably much more possible in terms of Overledger and what it'll do. I don't think they're exit scamming. They don't look like a group that would exit scam, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't fail. And not saying that I think they will. But failure and scam are two very different things. Hi, Kevin. Would love to see any AMA interview between you and Stephen from Equal Bet. Well, if Stephen from Equal Bet wants to reach out, I'd be happy to have a chat. They're absolutely foolish. Yeah, I think that's about governments. That's for sure. Kevin, will you implement hide functionality for orders? It's pretty unfair to compete with robots, e.g. KDA order book is full with visible bots that penny your orders. Well, the if you implement hidden orders, which means they're just visibly not, you can't see them in the book, they still exist in the book, right? The only way to do that where they don't exist in the book is to basically have a system where a limit order will sit on another server, basically outside the order book, and then that server monitors the order book. And once price moves to where that order sits, you basically pop it in as a limit order or a market order into the top of book. Now, that can be done on your side as well. You can somewhat easily code that so that your orders simply sit on your own server and they pop over once the book, as market orders, potentially, because if you put them as limits and they're not right at the top, well, you'll just get penny pinched again. And so we can do the same thing. The problem is that most crypto traders don't understand latency. So they will be sending their orders or place, so what we will have to do, what I mean for the latter, sorry, people don't understand latency. So doing it themselves, they probably would just get burned anyway. So what we would need to do is basically create an entire secondary infrastructure and have it cross-connected, with fiber to where our execution engine sits. I guess that's possible, but it's not something that we're going to look to do necessarily immediately because it is a bit of work for us to do that, and it's going to cost. It'll probably raise our infrastructure costs by 30%. We do have a guy in SysOps now, Merrick, who's doing a great job. So I think over the next 6 to 12 months, we'll probably be able to pick up projects like this, where in the past it was difficult. Hi, Kevin. Are there any plans to introduce reoccurring automated buy features on the Coinmethod platform? Yep. DCA is coming. We have a few ideas on how we're going to implement it. It's in the roadmap. I believe it's in the roadmap for either right now in Q3 or going into Q4. What conspiracy theories do you believe in? I don't know off the top of my head. Well, it depends on what you think a conspiracy theory is. Like if you ask some people, they're going to say that COVID is a conspiracy. And I don't think the disease is a conspiracy, but the way they fucking handled everything is absolutely ridiculous. The crazy thing for me, I'm going to go a little bit off the deep end on this one. The crazy thing for me is that you can go back in history, even just 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, and see multiple times where the government lied to your face. And people still don't think the government lies to them. And depending on what they're telling them, some things they believe are truthful, other things they don't. People will hate the government, but the minute they tell them that they should go and do something for their health, they say, "Oh, the government wants to protect them." But they'll complain about taxes, they'll complain about politics, they'll complain about how it's a dirty swamp or whatever nonsense, right? And so, attention spans are short-lived, which is crazy. So if you mention some conspiracy theories, I'll let you know if I believe in them or not. I think most conspiracy theories are based on about 0.5% of fact and 99.5%, somebody just thinking way too hard. Do you expect any specific sectors to still go insolvent during this crypto downturn? Yes, I do. Maybe Crypto.com, for example, looking at their crazy ongoing marketing deal costs. Well, you definitely will see more crypto exchanges and potentially even big ones going under. And the liquidity crisis is a start. As we get more deeper into this recession, I think you're going to see net outflows increasing. Net outflows increasing will hurt a lot of institutions. And yes, a lot of these guys that spent crazy amounts of money on needless bullshit over the last, bull run, that can't really get liquidity back out of that bullshit. And it's not really pushing their brand. I mean, Crypto.com is pretty well known. Putting their name on a stadium doesn't make them more well known. Nobody goes in that stadium and goes, "Oh, Crypto.com, I'm buying some Bitcoin." Nobody does that. So that was just an ego boost, and those things could potentially come back and haunt Crypto.com. Absolutely. You once said you believed Ignium could be bigger than Coinmethod. Do you still believe that, given the progress of both companies? I still think the premise of Ignium has a huge amount of potential, and this kind of shift into fundraising inside of your own community using NFTs is interesting. I think the ability to fundraise is super important for small business, medium-sized business, large business. And depending on the amount you're raising, it is almost impossible to do so. And there's lots of companies out there now that have built up communities that have been, online. They have communities on social media. They communicate with their followers, and they've never thought of any way that they could possibly tap into that. Or maybe they were embarrassed to ask, or maybe they just didn't know how, or they're just, maybe they got some legal advice that said, well, you have to solve this paperwork, you have to all this stuff. You might not be able to do it. You might not be able to do it from this country or that country. And I think that Ignium solves that problem in such an elegant little way. And yes, I do think that potentially that idea could be massive. That doesn't mean that comes to fruition, but it's possible. I still believe that thought that Ignium could be bigger than Coinmethod hasn't changed. What's the best way to deposit USD from USDT? Well, we don't accept USDT. So this question, I don't know, maybe it's worded a bit weird for me, but the best way to deposit USD is USD. So if you're in the US, you got ACH transfers, you got domestic wire. If you're international, you got international wire. That's probably the best way to deposit USD. If you have USDT, you're going to need to get that into USDC so that we can take it if you want to keep it as a stable coin because we don't accept USDT. Hopefully that answers your question. SBF recently said that some exchanges are secretly insolvent. What's your view on this? Yeah, some exchanges have been secretly insolvent, working on fractionally reserving their clients' assets for years. And most of those are going to be big exchanges. Smaller exchanges can't get away with that because simply outflows would kind of uncover what's going on. Let me explain what I mean. If you have, let's say, 100 million worth of client assets, let's just say in Bitcoin, and I don't know, you have no money and your company is about to go under, and you make the very stupid decision to start using client money to fund your business, which is a stupid idea and a terrible idea, and kind of slaps your clients in the face. But let's say that's what happens. Or you have 100 billion, but you have 20 billion of that is with Three Arrows, and now they're out of business. Now you only have 80 million, or 80, I said billion, only 80 million left of that 100, but you owe 100 to your clients. Now let's say that over time you start to get more withdrawals and deposits at a clip of 10 million more of withdrawals per month than you see deposits. Well, at some point that hole is going to come to light, and you're not going to be able to cover the hole, and you're out. Now, when you're a massive exchange with billions and billions and billions, and you're the go-to place for newbies, so you constantly get new money, your net inflows may surpass your net outflows even in times of crisis. But at some point, whether it's because of regulation that come and does an audit, whether it's because of some other catastrophe like Three Arrows, those holes can become evident, and they will probably be massive. Look at Celsius. Celsius was running essentially, and this could have been just after Three Arrows, it could have been before, with a $1.8 billion gap. They were fraction reserved to 1.8 billion. Again, maybe all that money was lost just recently in Three Arrows, but maybe they had a gap since the beginning for whatever reason, and they were able to cover it up because they were growing quickly. You guys are based. Well, thanks, Adam. I don't know if that was for me or for everybody else in the chat, but I think you're all based. Yeah, super based. CADEX launching on Monday. When I remember correctly, you once said you wanted to talk to them about the things that happened in the public sales. Did you talk to them, and what was the outcome? Haven't really had a full-fledged discussion about that, to be very honest. So up to this point, yeah, no real insight. I saw what was published publicly, but I haven't really seen anything else. That's the other gens. Would you ever consider listing precious metals, maybe just PAX-G? I mean, I would consider it. I don't know what type of demand we would see there, but I wouldn't just say no. What is the question you wish someone asked you at one of your AMAs but never does? Wow, that's that. Actually, I guess this is probably one of the best questions that I remember I maybe have ever gotten. I actually got to think about this one. I wish that people would ask a little bit more poignant questions. Now we get some good poignant questions here, but poignant questions not necessarily about Coinmethod, but just about the market in general. And we do get those from time to time, but I think those are my favorite questions to answer. The things that really make me, move my brain around and trying to articulate an answer. So one, that people would understand what I'm fucking talking about, and two, that actually makes sense. So those are my favorite questions. I think more in-depth questions. CADX launching on Monday. Okay, so I think I answered that one already. What if you didn't remove the fees on margin, but instead used them to buy XCM? Then credit the accounts that the XCM longs with an equal amount of XCM to offset the fees for their XCM margin longs. Yeah, I mean, I see where you're going with this. However, I think you need to take two things into account. One, let's say fee-free longs on a floor. Now, you still have to have faith that the company will be here and that XCM will be here, etc. But in terms of base value risk, it's pretty risk-free. So I would expect that that would entice lots of people to buy. And that buying pressure would be, I think, significantly more than the buying pressure of the fees that are generated. Because right now, on the entire margin platform, I think we're generating about 40K a month in fees, something like that. And so 40K into that book on a monthly basis isn't going to make too much of a difference. And I think people much rather have zero fee than have a fee and a rebate. If you look at, if you look at any of the times when you see promotions where it's really fee-free versus, we're going to rebate you back, I generally think there's much more enthusiasm about actually being free. And also you have to think about support costs as well, because many people will not read between the lines unless they will think it's fee-free. They will see they have fees and they will go to support. And that obviously costs us money. But I see where you're going with this. It's not a bad idea. And it may actually be something we try, considering the way that fees are charged on the platform, which makes it not easy to have one asset be fee-free. If multiple people had a limit order at the same price, which order gets filled first? First in, first out. So the first order that went in gets filled first. CADX launching on Monday. You once said, okay, wow, I think I answered this one already. Do you think Coinbase is insolvent? I don't think they're insolvent, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're slightly or greatly fractional in the reserve. If CM's participation in the UA sandbox goes well, will you consider it open office? Absolutely. That is the reason why we're going to Dubai. It's not just to get involved in the sandbox, it's to expand ourselves. And if the sandbox goes well and we feel that we can work well with the regulator, I think it's a great opportunity for us. What is your take on USDT? What's your opinion on the chance that it's going under? What will be the cascading effect and also the effect on CM and other exchanges? Well, the effect on CM directly would be zero because we don't support USDT. I've never liked USDT. There's zero transparency there. We still have no idea how they back USDT. First, it was backed by US dollars. Then it was, oh no, backed by US dollars and some other stuff. Then it was, oh, commercial paper. We still haven't had any real audit. No one knows what's backed or what doesn't back it. Every time there's a massive minting of USDT, it ends up at 3 exchanges: Bitfinex, Huobi, and Binance. That's suspect in and of itself. And every time there's been a major bull run in Bitcoin since the existence of USDT, USDT has minted a ton of USDT. Now, you can say that's people coming in with dollars buying USDT to buy Bitcoin. I would say that made a lot of sense back in the day when fiat on and off ramps were few and far between. I'm not sure that makes any sense now. To me, that smells, and it smells bad. On the chance it goes under, well, as this market becomes more regulated, if they don't get more transparent and they're not actually backing that by 100% exposure to some type of USD, whether that be through commercial paper or otherwise, it'll go under for sure. What will be the cascading effect? Cascading effect on the market by the time it potentially happens, I think, would be relatively minimal. If you look at what happened with Terra, that was a massive blow up. It was bigger than Lehman Brothers, which caused the 2008 financial crisis. However, it didn't actually cause the current bear market. The bear market's caused because, well, look at the rest of the world. Look at the macro. It sucks. And so I think that the market would be able to absorb it, to be honest, though there would be massive blood on the streets for some assets, especially those assets that are majorly priced through USDT. And, exchanges that use USDT and price most of their assets in USDT with large amounts of volume. So there might be a ripple effect across the market, but I wouldn't, depending on how big the market, if it were to happen today, it would hurt. If it happens during the next bull run, I don't think it hurts as much. If the global recession goes deeper and sexes start to go under, is CM set up to survive? Why delay the funding round with such a short runway and cut it close? Well, delaying the funding round is basically based on sentiment. Right now, sentiment isn't really there, and while it's not impossible to raise money, it's not going to be easier now than it was back in Q4. So we do have runway. We do have investors that support us. And we do always have the option to go back to you guys and do which many people have asked for us to go and do a public round back with you guys, so you guys can pick up some more of the company, which I think is amazing. So it's not about we want to cut it close. It's about that we want to make sure that we get the best value we can, because the more value we get, the better we can utilize that capital, the better we can grow Coinmetro, and the better we all do in the end. If you have more time, can you elaborate on what's going to do with Whale Room? Well, Whale Room is about integration. So obviously having our own room with Whale Room, now called Sentry, by the way, and connecting up with their API and doing something like we did with Discord, but working a bit more closer with them with Swap Widget and stuff like that, so that when clients come in and they want to get into a room that's token gated, they have a way to actually purchase that token. It's a pretty cool integration. You're going to start to see it roll out over the next weeks, and over time it's going to grow and grow. Really like Whale Room, like what they're doing. Sentry, sorry. And at the end of the day, I think that a lot of companies are going to take advantage of that type of service and move away from things like Telegram, etc., and even Discord. Discord for me is still kind of a black box. Telegram is kind of easier to use, but Telegram's full of spam, full of scams, etc. And so I think token gated rooms will be a really cool feature. I think other businesses will think the same. And if we have our widget there, and that's where people are coming in to buy their tokens to get into token gated rooms, it's going to be a great opportunity for Coinmetro, and also make the Sentry user experience relatively seamless. All right, guys. Sorry about that. I think I got to the end of the questions. Thank you, Patrick, by the way. I'm going to cut it here because oh, hold on. What is this? XCM is listed on Shapeshift. Okay. Maybe it is. I don't know. Haven't looked. Maybe it's not. No idea. Anyway, have a great weekend, everybody. I'm going to cut it here. 42 minutes and 37 seconds in. Thank you so much for this. Thanks for dealing with this mobile phone nonsense today. And see you guys here next week. See you guys in Telegram. You can tag me at Kevin Murcko. You can tag me on Twitter or tweet me on Twitter at Kevin Murcko. You can also look for me on Discord, though not there as much as I should be. I want to start doing AMAs on Discord inside those voice rooms, maybe once per week on a Wednesday or something. Let me know. Let us know what you think about that. I think that would be cool. Let's get it done. Spend a few minutes with friends and family over this weekend. If you can't do it physically, do it virtually. Try to spend some time in the sun. Not so much, though, so you turn into a tomato like I eventually will today. And yeah, I don't know if you want to look at prices this weekend. Whether I say you should or shouldn't, I'm sure everybody picks up their phone every 15 seconds to check prices. So, have at it. Buy some XCM. Help us get through that sell wall. XCM is, the cornerstone at Coinmetro. I think it's still very undervalued, and I think the future is bright. That doesn't mean we're not going to go through some turbulence, but I think the future is bright. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Chat soon. Thanks for all your support, as always. Cheers.